All right, ready? Why am I so fucking buff, dude? Like, is it? All right. Hey, are we ready?
I just got knocked out.
You're about to get knocked up. Stop it. Welcome to Found Footage Friday. Okay, we watched this one like a month ago, and we have been busy with so many new releases, and we are not watching new releases right now because of this. But we're like, oh my god, if we don't do this now, I'm gonna forget, and I'm probably already have.
Oh sure.
So, but I don't know.
It's gonna be a lot that I've missed.
So okay. Lunopolis. This is definitely one of the more dense found footage films I've watched. This is definitely the one of a lot of the ones we've watched where we should not have taken a break after it.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
There's so much going on in this one.
I think I remember most of it.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty memorable, and we were paying attention. Like, this isn't one that we were distracted during. And,
no.
I know I have like questions, and because there's time travel stuff.
Yeah.
And time travel stuff gets wibbly wobbly.
Gets very messy, no doubt. So, I do quite like this movie, and it is in my top 10 lesser known found footage video that I made 100 years ago. And I still feel like it belongs there because I definitely think this is one that has not been seen by enough people. It's not talked about enough in the found footage community. And it is currently on good old TUBI.
Good old TUBI.
Because of course it is. For you, for those of you who have not seen this movie and just want a quick little brief synopsis of this, essentially something happens on the news, and it looks like we have evidence of some paranormal event. Mm-hmm. And then we flash backwards about 2 weeks. I think it's like 12 days or something. And we see what's leading up to that thing. And eventually what happens is this guy calls in. Now, this is very reminiscent of an actual event. So I do have to wonder if this, I can only imagine this was based on. So years ago, there was this thing that happened on Coast to Coast with Art Bell, where this guy called in and he said that he'd like worked at Area 51 and he was calling in to expose them and this and that. And he was frantically having like a freak out and blah, blah, blah. And then boom, the whole network went dead.
Yeah.
Right? Like the whole thing shut down. And it was like unexplainable at that time.
Yeah.
Unlike he'd been on the air for 100 years, never happened before. But this guy calls in and the whole freaking network shuts down.
Yeah, it's like, oh, no, it's the government.
So it's the government, right? I mean, that's, of course, the implication. Yeah. And this is a very similar thing that happens here. He calls in, he says, Area 51, there's people living on the moon, that there's a race of people that are from the future, they live on the moon, and he's trying to call in and expose it. Of course, they think it's kind of BS until they receive something, and then this leads him to hire a documentary film crew. They receive this Polaroid picture with numbers on it, and they go to investigate. When they go to investigate, they get there, and there is this device that they take very hurriedly because they think that there's people there, and so they disappear with it. This thing ends up being a time machine, and they start to uncover the truth of the moon people, the lunar. What is it, like the lunar something is the guys who live on the moon, and then there's the Church of Lunopolis, who's basically the humans who know about it and want to stop the people on the moon from altering the timeline again.
Do they wait? I thought that the Church of Lunopolis was like trying to help the timeline continue to be altered, because it was like, I thought that like their whole thing was like, if you, like the humans that know about the lunar people, if you assist them with changing the timeline, like you'll have a memory of the timeline changing, so you'll be in the know. That's what I thought, because I think that
or maybe you're right. Maybe it's that they want, because obviously we're into spoiler territory now.
Yeah.
But so the guy who created this, who ends up being both the guys in the end, he not only created time travel, but he also created immortality. So the people from the Church of Lunopolis, they want in on that. I thought that they wanted to stop them, but whatever it is, it's just it is such an like, I don't want to say it's convoluted exactly, but it is to a degree.
For a found footage film, especially.
Oh my God.
I think that this is definitely one of the found footage films that I've seen that has, like, it feels very large scale.
Yes.
Like there's a lot going on for what I can only assume was probably a relatively small budget compared to, blockbuster films. Just when you were talking about the synopsis, like when they get the Polaroid and go to that location and it's like in the middle of a lake and they go down into a basement, like all that was super cool. And it really did feel like you're watching these guys like uncover a government conspiracy.
Yeah.
Like they're finding a place they should not be in. Why in the world they would take a piece of equipment from there is,
they're curious. Okay, so the film is definitely ambitious, obviously.
Yeah.
It does extend itself beyond its limitations here and there for me. I feel like when the Church of Lunopolis or whatever is like chasing them down in the cars and they finally like get out to ask them like what the hell's going on, and the car like turns into a spaceship and flies away and that kind of stuff. There's definitely moments like that in the film that they just look bad. And I know that like they have a low budget and it's like, screw it, we're going for our vision.
Yeah.
And like I commend them for it, and I don't really have an issue with it, but I won't lie and say it doesn't take me out of it, because once again, something we bring up on Found Footage Friday every single time, so just get used to hearing about it. It is the realism and believability, even if you're dealing with something that's supernatural, even if you're dealing with something extraterrestrial, if you're dealing with time travel, it doesn't matter. When it's found footage, it has to remain as grounded and realistic looking and feeling as possible to buy into the medium. Right. And with the CGI like that they're using, which is really, really rudimentary, it just doesn't lend itself to the believability of what you're trying to put out there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it does take you out of it, and it's sort of, for me, is something where if I didn't have the budget for whatever it is that I'm trying to create, I think it would work better to cut away from it, or
just
to
have them explain it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they just flew. How could you do that? Their car just turned into a spaceship and flew away.
That's like, like it is hard to show that when it's very clearly like CGI, because I think up until like that point, the film has a very believable vibe to it. I feel like the acting from the guys, like the three dudes that we're following, felt realistic to me. It felt like, and there are other like CGI moments that happen that, or not CGI, but like effect moments that happened. Like, for example, when they take the device and go back to their like lab, whatever thing at the school, and they use it, and then they like teleport. I loved that. I thought that was so cool, and it's scary. It's like really scary.
Well, especially since he has to be hospitalized after.
And I like that. I like that it's like, it affects them physically in a negative way.
Well, they don't know what the hell they're doing.
They don't know what they're doing, and it's not designed for them, and so many other reasons. But that kind of stuff worked fine for me. But the car flying away was definitely kind of like, what?
One of the issues I definitely had with the film is number one, like this is okay, because what the footage that we're seeing is alternate timeline footage that has been found, right? So this is proof of an alternate timeline in existence.
Yeah.
And there's like some kind of in-between guy at the end who finds it, and we get to see him like picking up the camera and looking into it with like green glowing eyes, because there's this like kryptonite like space rock that's from the moon that powers this thing, and without it it doesn't work, and this guy has green eyes. I don't know, I guess he can tame the burning blade from Big Trouble in Little China with them green eyes. But yeah, so the music in this though is an issue, right? Like, once again, this is found footage. There shouldn't be music. And not only is there music in it, but the music mix in this movie is way too high. The music it overshadows the dialogue. What is this, a Christopher Nolan movie?
Yeah, it does overshadow the dialogue sometimes, which is frustrating, because it's I already sometimes have trouble understanding what people are saying in film,
especially in a film like this,
yeah,
where your dialogue is so imperative to hear because of how dense the plot is. If it was just like if it was like a Paranormal Activity or something where a lot of the dialogue is just like, fraternizing, and hanging out. As much as I love it, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking the Paranormal Activities movies. I'm just saying that more than half the dialogue in the Paranormal Activity movies isn't even like super plot relevant. It's more just like, we're a couple and we say funny things to each other, right? Like, so that stuff isn't as important, but I feel like every bit of dialogue in this entire film is crucial to you understanding what's going on in it, and they put a music mix over it so loud you can barely understand it.
Yeah. It's frustrating, and it's definitely a knock against like the watchability of the film.
Yeah.
So.
Sometimes you can't help but love your wife. Sometimes I just look at her. And I just love her.
You punched me out.
Punched?
You were like,
I'm the muscles. No.
Elbowed me.
I have proof that she beats me on camera.
No, you don't.
A couple episodes ago. 100. See? Here we go. The church in this is basically the equivalent of modern now QAnon.
I guess it is. I was getting
except for they're right, and QAnon is fucking idiotic nonsense.
I was getting Scientology vibes really heavily as well.
A mix between that, yeah.
Like the members have to pay to like achieve the different levels. I forget what they called
Scientology.
But they had like the different, like,
it's just
you
the
get
conspiratorial.
Here, you'll remember this much. You get to here, you'll remember everything.
Just grab this e-meter and you'll be placed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gonna have those, what are they, the mitochondria? No, that's Star Wars.
It's
mitochondria?
It's an M count now. Midichlorians is what you're thinking of.
Mitochondria?
But people didn't like that. So now in the Disney era, they refer to it as an M count so that people don't get triggered by hearing the word mitochondria.
I think I have a pretty high M count.
You have a pretty high M count?
Like, it's at least 1,000.
At least?
Maybe more.
Compared to what?
Compared to what?
Yeah. So, anyway, I have a lot of like random shit in these notes. I know that like they've done the timeline, they're gonna do it again, and there's people. I thought that's why though. I'm telling you, somebody's trying to stop them. Especially it's himself.
It's him.
But there's other people. But they know it's. I'm telling you, the scientists who figure out that this is okay. So what happens is that the timeline becomes like the fabric of our time is starting to become weakened. And the people who realize that, the scientists who understand that, create the Church of Lunology. And then, but yeah, I think there's people who are trying to ascend, and I think there's people who are trying to stop it. I'm telling you, there's other people
right.
besides
I mean,
him.
Seen it more times than
I've only seen it twice, and it's been a long time since I saw it the first time. But regardless, he definitely wants to stop it because they're screwing up the timeline, and then they want to go back once again to 350 BC.
So crazy. Imagine you're just like living on the moon, and they're like, "All right, guys, time to restart everything. We're gonna go back to 350 BC. We got nothing down there. We're just gonna start from scratch." You know how hard it is to build a civilization from scratch.
What's he bringing though? They're just their bodies.
Just their just.
Is that all that they can bring through? They don't really. Yeah. See, that's questions, right? Like, can they put the time machine on something that encompasses enough space to bring like technology with them?
Like, we're just gonna bring this pre-built city. No, but they do say that but like the reason that there's certain advancements in history, like all these like major advancements that we have, are all caused by lunar people being like, here's this invention, haha, we just came up with it.
So I have hypothesized in the past, because I smoke too much weed. No, I don't smoke weed at all. But this definitely sounds like someone who smokes weed. But I've definitely hypothesized this many times. Something that I had suggested is that maybe, because the sheer, like, it would be... So the thing I always say about aliens is that the sheer size of space makes it very improbable that we can find each other, and it being during the same time of our advanced evolution, right? So you're not only dealing with time, you're also dealing with space. So people always like to be like, well, aliens, they have this technology. So not only do they have to be able to travel these long distances of space, but they also have to know where they're going.
Yeah.
Right? And they have to also find us on a timeline in which they are currently existing on within that technological advancements that they have. Right? So you have so many things working against you in order for us to ever meet each other.
Yeah.
Because you go one little centimeter off course this way for 1,000 light years, 1,000,000 light years, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
You are a trillion miles off course,
ended up at Gleep
and you would have to know where that place was even to begin to chart it to go in that direction. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in space, it ain't left, right, north, south, right? It's up, down, all around, right? It's everywhere. You can't. There's no this way or that way. It's not like gravity. Right, where you can go that way or that way, that way or that way. It's this way, that way, this way. It's every fucking way. So just the odds of us being found or us finding them in the universe, because we got our galaxy alone is so massive, and then it's like one of a trillion, trillions and trillions. So anyway, my point being is that just the odds of us ever finding each other are so monumentally, so astronomically low that I'm like, you would have to know where we're at. And the only way you would know where we're at, for the most part, is if you've been here. So I had always suggested that aliens are just humans from the future who have figured out a way to come back in time because they know where we are.
Yeah, it's a fairly common, I think, conspiracy about aliens, because I had heard something similar about like gray aliens, like the typical aliens that everybody thinks of when you think of an alien, like the big, you know, bald guys, gray, is that they are humans from the future.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows?
So
who knows?
I think that kind of is what's going on here, right? Like, these are the aliens.
Oh,
They're not Martians because they don't live on Mars, but they're Moonshins.
Yeah, they're Moonshins. Well, I mean, it's basically like when they're talking about those like advancements, that's like ancient alien theory, like 100%. Everybody in that community is like, The pyramids were built by aliens. Everything that's happened important and scientifically to the human race was only because a more advanced race taught us how to do it.
Couldn't a more advanced race come here and say, maybe slavery isn't a good idea?
Right?
Maybe
why didn't they? Why weren't
pass
they
down
like,
any
but
other
that
knowledge?
Is like, isn't that what they're trying to go back and do? Because they're like, we got it wrong again. Like, there's the whole goal for them is to create like a utopia, like the perfect timeline.
Man, they failed miserably.
So,
why did they wait so long?
I don't know. I'm like, you could tell that things were going bad. Like
a long time ago.
A long time
ago. That's definitely a question I have.
Yeah.
During the Crusades,
they're like, just wait it out. We could still turn this around. During
the hundreds of years of slavery in this country, during the Holocaust, during so many pieces of history.
Yeah.
I named 1/1 billionth of the horrible things that humans have been up to. But those are just the ones that, are the most prevalent to us Americans. But there's so many things that are terrible. You wouldn't think they'd have to wait till December 21st, 2012, which of course is when the Mayan calendar runs out. Mm-hmm. That was supposed to be the big day, right? So that's what they're basing that date off of, is that maybe that's the only window that they can go back, is they have to wait till 2012 every time.
Yeah.
I don't remember them saying that because the guys used the machine. It's not 2012. It's not December 21st anyway.
No, that's like their deadline. That's just like reset day.
Yeah.
I don't know that has any kind of, because everything, I mean, he's like, anything after this point, nobody knows what happens in the future. Like, it's always been that day.
Yeah.
And then we go back and do it all over again. But it's just kind of like, it's not even, like, they're not immortal. Right? He's the only one that's immortal. So, like, there's just tons of people that are like,
no, all the people in his society probably would have to be immortal as well. I mean,
if they're immortal and they just keep repeating time, that has to be like so boring and so annoying to do.
Oh, no way, because I could see so many different iterations of like the Halloween franchise.
Yeah, but like they're like, people are still making like the same mistakes.
I feel like
no matter what they do, they're like, guys, don't make that mistake. Don't kill those people. And they, like, humans will still do it, and they're just like, I've seen you do this literally 5,000 times.
I feel like we live in that universe right now.
The mistake universe?
No, I feel like we're in the reset timeline universe for like the 4th time, because how many timelines are there in the Halloween franchise?
They've tried to reset
each universe,
so many times.
Each universe, we know it by the Halloween franchise can be used as like the rings in a tree. However many timelines there are in the Halloween franchise, and we just got another one announced today.
Yeah, when they got
D-Day's coming. They're resetting the timeline again.
Every time the mask starts to look bad, there's like, Dick Warlock comes on. They're like, can you not have such a square head, mister?
Hey, now.
I'm just
kidding. Now.
It's fine.
Don't be a dick to Dick.
I'm not.
Okay?
It's not his fault that the latex stretches weird on his face.
Yeah. No, it isn't.
But... yeah, I mean, but this is also where the movie this is the confusing, convoluted part of the film, because they, it's not like they erase everything that's happened before. Like, they create branches, which is something that's talked about a lot in time travel films. And it's still, like, I get confused with time travel no matter what, because I'm not a physicist. And I don't understand, like, it's confusing. I don't understand how that works, but they basically create these like branches, and so like they leave, but this timeline keeps going on to like its inevitable destruction, but it's causing like problems. So it's like the Loki TV series,
right? They need the TVA to come in.
Yeah.
You could be Carl Sagan watching these time travel movies, and you still would have no idea what the hell is going on. So I don't think it has anything to do with who you are. They just get confusing, period. Yeah. And this movie definitely wraps, or I shouldn't say, well, it encompasses a lot of different like myths and legends and events of the past. They got the first time he tries to go back in time and end himself is the Roswell incident.
Mm-hmm.
And they sunk freaking Atlantis to keep the conspiracy, right? Like they have so much going on in this movie. It really is. It is pretty fucking convoluted, I will say, because it's just like overtly complex for something that I don't feel like should have to be that much. I feel like they did overextend themselves a bit when they could have simplified things to a degree. They could have just simplified things a good amount.
They could have, but it is supposed to be like the story makes it kind of impossible to simplify in some ways because it is supposed to be like all of human history. This is why I like, which I know you weren't as big on it as I was, but there's another found footage film that is, there's I'm sure others, but the one I'm thinking of that involves time travel is Rewind, RWD. I really liked that film, and because it's a smaller scale, contained story, only involving like 3 characters or 2 characters. I thought that it was easier to follow, and it's very different than this, but I just liked the time travel and the way it was done in that compared to this.
So I mean that's pretty much it. I do quite like the movie because I think it's unique. I think it's definitely memorable for this subgenre.
Yes.
So it's a recommendation. Obviously, I hope you've seen it if you're still here, or you went and watched it after we gave you the synopsis that bled into spoilers without warning. But yeah, I dig it. I think that it needed to take out some elements for sure because it just got up its own ass a little too much. But overall, a very ambitious film, and the flying car should be cut. Other aspects should be cut, but it's cool. It's cool. It is cool. Yeah, so as I said, they incorporate so many different things. Like, it had to be the Mayan calendar. It had to be Roswell. It had to be, like, it. Of course, it has to be all these events.
Yeah.
But that's the things we know, so it's easy to sell that to an audience, other than, like, trying to sell them on a whole new event that they'd have to explain. It's like, no. Roswell, you know what that is. 1947. That kind of stuff. It's like super simple. So, I don't know. But that's that. You would think it like Hitler, they would have been like, it's time to reset.
Bad timeline.
Yeah.
Let's reset early.
Genghis Khan.
Bro.
There's so many.
Freaking dinosaurs? How come? They have to die every time.
Well, this is they don't go that
dinosaurs.
Bro, what? They're 65 million BC, babe.
I don't know. It might still be there.
350.
Maybe there's a couple.
350 BC. Not even close.
Running around.
You're thinking 350 million BC or what?
I don't know.
So we're not that bright. That's okay. At least, all right. I love you. All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye.